Look, you've probably seen the headlines lately. The stock market is stable, inflation is cooling down, and officially, the economy is supposedly doing just fine. But if you actually talk to anyone trying to get a paycheck right now, you are going to hear a completely different story. There's this massive, deeply uncomfortable disconnect between the numbers on paper and the terrifying reality that everyday workers are actually experiencing. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the modern job market to uncover the invisible systems that have completely rewritten the rules of employment.
So, here's a question for you. If unemployment is sitting at a supposedly healthy 4.3%, which is roughly where it was back in the booming days of 2018, why does losing a job today feel like stepping off a cliff? Why are highly qualified, incredibly smart professionals absolutely panicking right now? Well, the answer is that the headline unemployment rate is actually hiding a completely different, far more dangerous economic animal underneath.
Okay, let's dive into this. The real crisis right now isn't massive, headline-grabbing layoffs. It's what economists are calling a low-hire, low-fire equilibrium. Basically, companies aren't necessarily firing everyone in droves. Instead, they've just quietly padlocked the front door. Hiring has totally collapsed to levels we haven't seen since the entire economy literally shut down in April 2020. So if you have a job, you keep it, because the exact second you lose it, you realize the door behind you just vanished. Let's ground this in reality for a second. Meet Keon. He's 38, a software engineer making great money. He's got a wife, 2 kids, and a mortgage. It's 9:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. He's on a totally routine Zoom call, just a normal day. Then, at 10:02 a.m., a sudden calendar invite pops up for a quick sync with HR. His stomach instantly drops. By 10:14 a.m., his system access is completely revoked, his company badge goes dead, and by 10:30 a.m., he's sitting in his car in the parking lot, staring at a cardboard box. In exactly 12 minutes, Keon's entire false sense of security was shattered, and he's about to step into a market that operates completely differently than he thinks.
Because here is the first micro rug pull Keon is going to experience when he opens his laptop. Back in 2022, there were roughly 12 million open jobs. It was literally an applicant's dream. Today, that number has plummeted down to just 6.9 million. The opportunities out there have practically been cut in half, and it happened while nobody was really looking.
And here is the immediate, brutal twist. Right now, there are 7.6 million unemployed workers actively fighting over those 6.9 million jobs. For the first time since 2021, there are literally more unemployed people than there are open positions in the entire country. Mathematically speaking, every single open job could be filled today, and hundreds of thousands of people would still be left standing out in the cold. It's a game of musical chairs where they secretly took away the chairs.
This imbalance has completely broken the application funnel. Think about it. Back in 2016, you could send out maybe 15 targeted applications and reasonably expect to land an interview. Today, that number hovers around 100 applications just to get a single human being to even look at your resume. Senior-level hiring fell 32% in a single year. And the average job search? It now drags on for nearly 6 months. Not 6 weeks, 6 agonizing months.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the psychological warfare of the job hunt actually goes even deeper. Applicants are pouring all their emotional energy into an absolute abyss. Why? Because of ghost jobs. These are fake job postings that companies have zero intention of ever filling. They just leave them up to look like they're growing, or honestly, just to placate their own overworked employees. Astonishingly, 93% of HR professionals admit to using them. Add in AI filters that just blindly reject resumes, and job seekers are draining their souls applying to literal phantoms.
Which brings us to the next phase of this crisis, the safety net evaporation. The protections from 2020 are completely gone. So the job hunt is way longer and way harder. But what happens when you finally turn to the government for help? Back in 2020, during the pandemic, massive protections were deployed. We had enhanced health subsidies, stimulus checks, student loan pauses, expanded child tax credits, eviction moratoriums, the works. Today, every single one of them is expired. The safety net wasn't blown up by some dramatic villain. It just slowly, bureaucratically dissolved while everyone was distracted by other news. By the time workers like Keon fall and reach out for that net, they realize they're grabbing at thin air. What's actually left is unemployment insurance, which, let's be honest, is essentially a geographical lottery. If you lose your job in Washington state, your maximum weekly benefit is over $1,000. If you lose that exact same job in Mississippi, your maximum is $235. That barely covers a single grocery run for a family. It replaces a tiny fraction of your old income. It usually caps out at just 3 months, and here is the absolute kicker.
It is fully taxable. The IRS is literally going to take a cut of the money you are using to buy bread.
But you know what? The moment that truly breaks families isn't the tiny unemployment check, it's the hidden healthcare cliff. Because those enhanced ACA subsidies quietly expired, average family insurance premiums spiked by 114% overnight. If Keon wants to keep his family's health insurance through COBRA, he is looking at paying roughly the cost of a brand new car completely out of pocket every single year. And remember, he has zero income.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate financial trap. When the severance runs dry and the mortgage is suddenly due, people start looking at their 401k. Let's say you pull out $25,000 just to survive this 6-month job search. You probably think the cost is just the income tax and the $10,000 early penalty. But that money, if left alone to compound for 25 years, would have been worth over $130,000. So the actual cost of surviving a modern job loss? It's roughly $120,000 in lost future wealth. You are literally being forced to burn your future just to survive your present.
But we can't just talk about the math here. We have to talk about the behavioral root cause of why this hurts so incredibly much. A job isn't just money. Psychologically, it gives you 5 vital anchors: time structure, regular activity, social contact, collective purpose, and social status. When you lose a job, you lose all 5 of those instantly. This is exactly why long-term unemployed individuals face massive statistical spikes in clinical depression, suicide risk, and divorce. People feel like they've completely lost their identity because, functionally speaking, they kind of have.
Now, let's look at the unseen enemy, the AI white-collar purge. This is the structural shift that is actively eliminating entry-level roles. This brings us to the final variable, making this era fundamentally different from, say, 2008 or 2020. We aren't just dealing with a standard economic cycle anymore. We're dealing with a permanent structural shift. And this isn't theoretical. Look at this real payroll data. Employment for workers aged 22 to 25 in AI-exposed jobs has dropped by 13%. Meanwhile, workers over 30 in those exact same fields saw a 9% growth. AI displacement isn't just random bad luck. It is actively and surgically targeting entry-level white-collar workers. Companies are keeping their senior managers, but using AI to completely gut the junior roles right beneath them. And make no mistake, this is a deliberate corporate strategy. Major tech CEOs are openly telling us they need less heads and want more leverage through AI. The CEO of Anthropic, which is one of the biggest AI companies on the planet, publicly stated that AI could wipe out 50% of all entry-level white-collar jobs within 5 years. The very people building the machine are telling us exactly what it's designed to do. We should probably listen.
So what happens when our guy Keon finally gets an offer 8 months later? Well, he takes a massive pay cut just to get back in the game. This introduces a terrifying concept called wage scarring. Taking that lower-paying job permanently alters his lifelong earning trajectory. Compounded over the rest of his career, that single 12-minute layoff will end up costing him roughly $500,000 in future wealth. The gap is permanent. Even when he wins, he loses.
So what's the solution? Building your financial door. The boring, mundane work that actually saves you.
Seriously, what do we actually do about all this? If the safety net is gone, the market is frozen, and the AI purge is real, how do you survive these invisible systems? You have to build your own door. It isn't glamorous, it isn't some secret crypto hack or a massive 80-hour-a-week side hustle. It is the simple, unbreakable buffer. Step 1. Open a high-yield savings account at a completely different bank so you don't see it. Step 2. Set up an automatic transfer every single time you get paid. Step 3. Ignore it completely. You have to build an automated financial buffer when things are perfectly fine, so it is already there when things suddenly stop being fine.
So the crucial point is this. The people who survive these economic shocks with their lives, their sanity, and their marriages intact are almost never the ones making the absolute most money. They are simply the ones who prepared. They're the ones who built a door they could firmly close behind them to block out the panic. Mundane, automatic preparation is your only real defense against a massive systemic failure.
The rules of job loss have fundamentally changed, but the rules of preparation? They haven't. They are just literally the only thing left that matters. So will you build your door before your own random 9:47 a.m. Tuesday calendar invite arrives? Think about that today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Drop a comment letting me know which part of this explainer hit the hardest for you. And if you found this deep dive valuable, hit subscribe so you never miss out on understanding the hidden systems shaping your world. Thanks for learning with me today.